Hello from the Travel Tracker. Today's tip is for transportation administrators who have the authority to access the driver table. If you have drivers listed in the driver table and you need to change the driver table by removing one of the drivers, for example, maybe a driver is no longer with your district and you would like to remove them from the table, then this tip is to explain that process of removing a driver from the driver table. So let's take a look first at the driver table. Remember, you're going to be in your Setup Tables tab, and you will find the driver table listed. You'll click that and open your driver table. Now, notice that you have all of your drivers listed. And if you want to remove a driver from the table so that that driver no longer is included in the list, you would click the little pencil edit button on the left. Now, the first section of the driver table includes all of the driver information, and in this first section you see three buttons: the active button, the inactive button, and the remove button. Now, the status of this current driver is active, but if we would like to remove this driver, we would have to click the remove button to remove them. Now, notice that there's also an inactive option to change the status to the driver to inactive. Now, let me explain the difference between an inactive status and the remove status. The inactive status will hide the driver from any of your Find Available Driver buttons when you are making assignments. This driver will no longer be showing in a driver list to make an assignment if you make them inactive, but their information will remain in the driver table. So a use for the inactive status may be a driver that's going on an extended leave or perhaps just a vacation and you don't want to assign that driver. Now, the remove status. The driver can be removed from the driver table only if this driver has no assignments associated with this driver. So this driver is not shown to be driving any trips, past or future. Now, if you want to remove this driver and you don't know for sure if they have any outstanding assignments, then you can go ahead and click the remove button and the system will not let you remove if the driver has assignments. So if we click the remove button, we'll see a message pops up and tells us that drivers with assignments may not be removed. So this is an indication that this driver does have assignments. So if you would like to see if you can remove this driver by taking the driver's assignments away, let me show you how to do that. So let's just close this window now. Now we're going to go to the Assignments tab. Now I will mention that you may want to start here rather than starting in the driver table. Maybe you would just like to start at the Assignments tab if you know which driver you need to remove and just investigate if they have assignments first. From the Assignments tab, you have the option on the left here of By Driver. And so let's click on that, By Driver. And this is going to bring up a list of all of our drivers. You will pick your driver from the list that you need to remove. Now let's look at this particular driver, and we can see that this driver has been assigned to these 9 trips. And as I look at the dates of these trips, I can see they are past trips. There is no trips in the future. And so now I have to make a consideration. Remember, the driver can have no assignments in order to be removed from your list. So you have to decide what to do about this. Do you want to go back and remove this driver from past assignments, even if they actually did drive for this particular trip? That is an option if you want to do that. Don't recommend it, but you could. You may decide that since this driver has past assignments, to just inactivate this driver rather than removing them. But if you would like to remove the assignments, you can do that. So for example, to access the assignment, let's click on the trip number. This is going to open up the assignment for us, the invoice. And if you would like to remove this driver, you have a Remove Driver button here, and then maybe you would assign someone else. Perhaps this driver didn't drive on this particular trip, but if they did, you would need to consider if you want to change this driver information. There is also a Remove Assignment button. This will remove the entire assignment, including the vehicle. Now I will mention that if this trip is in the past and if the assignment is in any status except pending, so if this invoice is in an approved status, a payment sent, a paid status, or a do not bill status, the Remove Assignment button will not be available. So if this is the case, if this driver has driven on a trip in the past and the invoice has already moved out of the pending status, the only option you have is to just inactivate that driver. You will not have the option to remove that driver from an assignment that has been moved out of the pending status. Now, if the driver has only trips in the future, then you can determine to make a change to that assignment, which will remove the driver from those trips and allow you to remove the driver from the table. So in order to do that, you can again click on the assignment information for a trip in the future, and then you can open the assignment and change the driver. Click your Change button and assign a different driver by clicking the star, clicking the Change button, and then we'll save our change here with our new driver. So now we would have to just continue through our list and remove this driver that we want to remove from the table. We would remove that driver from all of the assignments that they have in this manner. So let's review. If you need to remove a driver from the driver table, you need to determine whether or not that driver has any assignments. If that driver has ever been assigned to a trip or has future trips, you will have to remove the driver from the assignments in order to remove the driver from the table. If the driver is never had a trip assigned and has no trip assignments in the future, when you click on the Remove button, that driver will be removed from your driver table. If the driver has trips in the past, you would probably want to consider only inactivating this driver. The system will not allow you to remove the driver from the assignment if that invoice has been marked anything other than pending. If the invoice is still pending, you can change the driver. But if it's a trip in the past that the driver did drive on, you may not want to do that. You may want to leave that and just consider inactivating the driver. If the driver was assigned to a trip in the past and they did not drive, then make the assignment correct. Put the correct driver on it. If the driver has future trips, nothing in the past, only in the future, you can decide to change the driver, remove the driver and change the driver on these future trips, because the driver you're wanting to remove will no longer be with the district. So those are your options. You have to remove all assignments in order to remove the driver. If you aren't sure, you can always come into the table and click the Remove button, and the system will not allow you to remove and will give you a message if they have any assignments. So I hope that this tip has been helpful in letting you know that we do have a way for you to remove drivers from your table if they're no longer with the district. but we also have a means to just inactivate those drivers if they have assignments or have had assignments and need to stay in the system in order to protect the integrity of the invoice, but are no longer available to drive for your schools. Thank you very much.